Before anything existed, there was already a word speaking life into the silence. Before time began, there was a presence that was not created, but eternal. And one day, that eternal word stepped into the world, not as a concept, but as a person. There is something deeply mysterious and powerful in the opening words of the Gospel of John. It doesn't begin with a story, a place, or even a human name. It begins with eternity. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is not just poetry. This is a declaration that shifts everything we think we know about existence. The Word, this divine expression, this living truth, was not created. It existed before creation. It was with God, and at the same time, it was God. Everything that exists came through him. Every star in the sky, every breath you take, every detail of life itself, none of it exists apart from this Word. Nothing was made without him. And yet, despite being the source of all things, the story takes an unexpected turn. The Word became flesh. Think about that for a moment. The infinite stepped into the finite. The eternal entered time. The Creator walked among his creation, not as a distant force, not as an untouchable power, but as a human being, living, breathing, experiencing life just as we do. He lived among people. He walked through ordinary streets. He felt hunger, fatigue, and emotion. He saw the brokenness of the world not from afar, but from within it. And this changes everything, because it means God is not distant from human experience. He understands, he sees, he knows. John describes this moment with simple yet profound words. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. The original meaning carries the idea of tabernacling, of making a dwelling place. It's as if God chose to pitch his tent right in the middle of humanity. Not above us, not away from us, but with us. This is not just about presence, it's about relationship. And yet the response from the world was not what you might expect. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. Imagine that. The very one who created everything walked into his own creation and was not recognized. Even more, he came to his own people, and many did not receive him. This reveals something deeply human. We can be surrounded by truth and still miss it. We can encounter light and still choose darkness. Not because the light is hidden, but because sometimes we are not ready to see it. But the story does not end there. To all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. This is where everything shifts. This is not about status, background, or achievement. It is not about being born into the right family or reaching a certain level of understanding. It is about receiving, believing, opening your heart to something greater than yourself. And when that happens, a new identity begins. Not defined by the world, not shaped by past mistakes, but rooted in something eternal. Children of God, not by human effort, but by divine purpose. John continues to describe the nature of this Word made flesh, full of grace and truth. Not just truth alone, which can sometimes feel harsh or distant. Not just grace alone, which can sometimes feel undefined or unclear, but both, perfectly balanced. Grace that meets you where you are, truth that leads you where you need to go. This combination is powerful, because grace without truth can leave you unchanged, and truth without grace can leave you discouraged. But together they transform, they heal, they restore. And this is what people witnessed when they encountered him. They saw something different, something real, something that could not be explained away. John says we have seen his glory, not a distant glory hidden in heaven, but a visible, lived-out reality. A glory full of compassion, power, humility, and authority. A glory that touched lives. A glory that changed hearts. And yet, even with all of this, there was still resistance. There were still those who chose not to believe, because light has a way of exposing things, and sometimes that can be uncomfortable. But here is the truth that continues to stand. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. No matter how dark things may seem, light is still present. No matter how confusing life becomes, truth still exists. No matter how far someone feels, grace is still available. This is the message at the heart of the Word becoming flesh. It is not just a historical event. It is an ongoing invitation. An invitation to see differently, to understand differently, to live differently. Because if the Creator stepped into creation, it means your life matters. It means your story is seen. It means you are not just another face in the crowd, you are known, and there is something deeply personal about that. John also speaks about John the Baptist, who came as a witness to the light. He was not the light himself, but he pointed to it. This reminds us that sometimes people in our lives are not the answer, but they point us to the answer. They guide, they reflect, they prepare the way. And ultimately, each person must decide how they respond to the light. Do you ignore it? Do you question it? Or do you receive it? Because receiving the light is not just about belief, it is about transformation. It changes how you see yourself, it changes how you see others, it changes how you walk through life. And this transformation is not forced, it is offered freely, openly, to anyone willing to receive it. John makes another powerful statement: grace upon grace. This suggests something continuous, not a one-time gift, but an ongoing flow. Grace that meets you today, grace that carries you tomorrow, grace that does not run out. And this matters, because life is not lived in a single moment. It is lived day by day, step by step. And along the way, there will be mistakes. There will be questions. There will be moments of doubt. But grace continues. It does not disappear when you struggle. It does not fade when you fall short. It remains. And through that grace, truth continues to guide. Moses brought the law, a clear standard, a way to understand right and wrong. But through Jesus Christ came grace and truth, not replacing the law, but fulfilling its deeper purpose. Not just showing what is right, but making a way for people to live in it. This is the difference between knowing and becoming, between understanding and transformation. And it all begins with the Word becoming flesh. John ends this passage with a profound statement. No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. This means something incredible. If you want to understand God, not just as an idea, but as a reality, you look at Jesus, his life, his actions, his words, his character. They reveal what God is like. Not distant, not disconnected, but present, compassionate, truthful, faithful, and deeply invested in humanity. This changes how we approach faith. It is not about trying to reach something unreachable. It is about responding to something that has already come near. It is not about climbing your way up. It is about receiving what has been brought down. And that shifts everything, because it removes the pressure of perfection and replaces it with the invitation of relationship. A relationship that grows, that deepens, that transforms. If the Word became flesh, then your life is not separate from divine purpose. It means that in the middle of your everyday experiences, your routines, your struggles, your questions, there is something greater at work. Something that invites you to see beyond the surface, to recognize that even in ordinary moments, there can be extraordinary meaning. And maybe that is what makes this message so powerful. It is not just about what happened. It is about what is still happening. The light is still shining. Grace is still being offered. Truth is still guiding, and the invitation is still open to receive, to believe, to become. Not instantly, not perfectly, but genuinely, step by step, moment by moment. And if you are searching, if you are questioning, if you are wondering what all of this means for your life, then maybe this is where you begin. Not with all the answers, but with openness, with a willingness to explore, with a heart that is ready to receive. Because sometimes the most important step is not understanding everything. It is simply choosing not to turn away. Thank you for watching this video. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to like, follow the channel, and share this video with someone who may need to hear it.